Hello, good evening, and welcome back. We will not go gently into that good night. The riots continue around Europe as German riot police fire water cannons at unmasked protesters as thousands gather in Berlin for demonstration against Angela Merkel's lockdown measures. And the point for this is, of course, that they do actually have a written constitution. They are concerned about the changes in law of it going through the lower house, then the upper house, and then being signed into law. And just like we're seeing in other areas of Europe, that they wish to enshrine a new law which will not be a temporary measure, but instead be a permanent backstop which they can call upon whenever they wish to. So it isn't just to set a precedent of which they can call upon later on, but instead it is to enact a law which can of course be called up whenever they wish to. How far could this then move on to? You could have like Danish compulsory vaccinations, for example. And at what point do you say, okay, government, I appreciate your trying to protect us. And of course, in Germany, they've been fine with not being allowed firearms. So, okay, fine, we're fine with that. And cool, something like the Snoopers Charter or the Patriot Act, that fine, you can see what we're doing online in order to protect us from terrorism. But then when it gets to the point of you're forcefully injecting us with things, maybe that is the straw that broke the camel's back. And at that point, it seems to be Germany's getting a bit too concerned and saying, you're making us wear things that we don't wish to wear, that aren't even necessarily worth wearing, and now you're saying that we can't have a life and make a job and provide value to society and get something in return for it. And then you seem to be saying that we need to be injected with things that maybe we're a bit hesitant to go along with, given that, for one, the coup is not really fatal at all, and once you've had it, you're almost guaranteed to not get it again, like with any other virus, as I've said time and time again. And of course, it just gets to that ridiculous point, as you would expect, and so yeah, they're just saying, Nah, I'm good. I'm good, thanks. So thousands gathered at Brandenburg Gate to protest COVID restrictions in Germany as case numbers rose. Police used water cannons to break up the huge crowds, with some protesters throwing flares. Demonstration came as government debated a bill that would make mask wearing, social distancing, and shop closures enforceable by law. So, of course, we disavow all violence and against police. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing that. However, let's not forget the JFK quote, that those who make peaceful revolt impossible make violent revolt inevitable. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea with that. With the protesting. So German police have fired water cannons to disperse thousands of unmasked protesters, gotta put that in there, who had gathered in central Berlin to demonstrate against government measures to curb the spread of coronavirus. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But let's just see the scenes. We've got, wow, it's a heavily armoured vehicle going through the streets of Berlin, attacking political dissidents. Something tells me I've heard of this before. But no, this is definitely completely different. Because, don't you know, that if you do these things, then you're going to be taken off by the police. If you say things that they don't like, you're, of course, going to be taken by the police. If you make jokes about them, then you're going to be taken by the police. And if you compare them to the previous German party that did this to people, you'll be scorned. As they go on to say, in online chat rooms, militant activists compared the government measures to the Enabling Act of 1933, which gave Nazi leader Adolf Hitler's government dictatorial powers, AFP news agency reported. The provocative comments drew outrage, with Foreign Minister Heiko Maas tweeting in response to the disgraceful comparisons. Everyone, naturally, has the right to criticise the measures. Our democracy thrives through the exchange of different opinions. Brilliant, and he should have left it at that. Instead, but whoever relativises or trivialises the Holocaust has learned nothing from our history. See, it's always a problem when you got, yeah, of course I'm for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and everybody should have their freedom. But then you're thinking, well, I'm guessing you don't. And we heard this from the other side as well, saying, I'm not racist. But, well, then the next thing is going to be racist. We've heard that time and time again. So, surely the sword cuts both ways. But, as you would expect, this is how the comparisons have happened. And for people basically saying, I wish to be able to interact with somebody else without the government getting involved, and I would like the government to get out of my day-to-day life, apparently they are, of course, the far-right Nazis. Which is paradoxical in a couple of ways. One is that the Nazis were not far-right, they're left, even in their name, and then the over-encroaching government is clearly socialist, as they suggested themselves. Yes, of course, Adolf Hitler didn't like communism or capitalism because he thought they were both Jewish conspiracies. But nonetheless, of course, socialism is just a stepping stone to communism, an inevitable stepping stone to communism if you look back through what Lenin was preaching at the time. But then to say, well, we don't want the government interfering with us, I'm not quite seeing how that's a problem. They're not saying, hey, I should have the right to barge into somebody's place uninvited, cough and sneeze all over them, spread my germs however I see fit, and then waltz out. Not even close. They're saying, if I'm okay with it, and the person I'm going to see are okay with it, can you please leave us alone? But no. And this is also the deal with the devil that's signed whenever it comes to a socialised health system, or an NHS in England, if you will, that once you agree to that the state is responsible for your health, that you've also foregone a load of rights like this. If you forgo your health rights, which you do when you agree to a socialised health system, then they, of course, in order to keep you in line with their policy, and you're not allowed to change policy because that's the one you wanted, then, of course, they're going to be saying, well, then you can't do these things because otherwise we can't cover you and we have to cover you. So you're not allowed to do these things. And then we're going to bring in our other branch of government, of the police, or maybe even the army to use domestically in order to enforce these rules. That's what we see. So yes, cases and deaths not from COVID, sorry, people who have died with COVID, just to correct the Mail Online there, have increased recently. Yes, they have. And people should be aware of this. And, deaths per day when they're now into the low hundreds compared to tens of millions of people. But of course, people should be able to have this information and then decide for themselves if they wish to go outside, if they wish to protect others, as the Danish study has shown recently that, yeah, wearing a mask definitely doesn't protect you. We kind of knew that before. It doesn't. Hopefully, it'll protect other people, but it's not going to protect you, especially the way the people wear them. They're pretty much useless for protecting the wearer. But hopefully, they might protect other people. Like, okay, cool. So we can look at that. And then we can decide who's at most risk. What are the consequences of getting it? Yep, I'm fine with all that. I'm going to go about my daily life as I did before. Or you might decide, no, I'm actually a bit concerned. Okay, cool. Shut yourself away. That's perfectly fine. Let us run rampant through everybody else. Maybe get a vaccination when there's one available, should you so wish. Yeah, they're supposed to have years of trials and research beforehand to see if there are any long-term side effects, but that's clearly not an issue in this one. There definitely aren't any long-term side effects that can't be found yet. Definitely not. 5 years down the line, you're definitely going to be fine. But yeah, if you want that vaccination, then go ahead. If you want to stay inside, fine. But allow herd immunity to happen for the people who wish to. It can run through. And at that point, of course, just like we do at the moment with like the MMR vaccinations and polio as well, that you have enough people taking it so that the few who have compromised immune systems who can't handle it do not need to take it because the virus just isn't there anymore. That's the way to do it. But that's just my 2 cents. So as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Always intrigued to hear what you have to say. Thanks for commenting, sharing, liking, subscribing, all the good stuff. Really does help the channel out. And as always, until next time, have a good one.